Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Alrighty, let's see what we can do with our readings today, shall we? First, thank you so much for being patient with us today as we figure this all out. You guys know how important it is for me that we all be together again and in a safe and healthy way. So we're going to try this out. And we're going to test it this week, so hopefully next week I'm a little bit more prepared for you. And I feel like this leads straight into our gospel reading today, and indeed some of what Paul has to say to us, because really our texts today are about how to live in community. How do we live together as a church? And you've all heard that person who's like, I don't go to church because church is full of hypocrites. Well, yeah, because it's full of humans. If it weren't full of hypocrites, it would be nothing but dogs, and dogs don't need church, so... but we humans are figuring out how to live in community. And so I think Christians get extra points for coming to church and really trying something that it seems impossible to do. And it should be slightly comforting that even for Jesus, it was not easy. So these folks have Jesus with them, and they're still struggling with how to be together and how to get along and how not to bicker and gossip and have all sorts of issues. So that should be a little bit comforting for us that even Jesus has to go to them and say, okay, let's talk about how we're going to be together. Because they're struggling with how to be together. They don't always get along and they don't always agree. Shocking, I know, right? Where two or three humans are gathered, not only is God with them, but also disagreement. And so Jesus realizes this. And so he sits them down and he says, okay, here are some basic rules that we need to follow to be together. And I think it's important to notice that the most important rule for living together in community, well, there are two. There are two vital rules for living together in community. One, love one another. Love one another. Because when we start with love, we'll get where we need to go. Because when we start with love, we can deal with the disagreements. We can deal with the awkwardness. We can deal with all those different things because we come from a place of love and care. And then we can figure out the rest. And two is communication. And isn't it interesting that Jesus needs to highlight this? Because we as humans struggle with communication. We don't do it, and when we're irritated with each other, we really don't do it. We do things like the silent treatment, or we just avoid. We don't talk about the actual issues. So Jesus offers us two ways to live together in community. One, love one another. Start with love. Two, communicate. When there's a disagreement, start with communication. Start talking about it before you start disliking somebody. Because here's the deal. If we come to something with love, then we'll work through it. If we come from a place of, I already don't like you, we're never going to get anywhere. And Jesus knows that. So we start with love first, and then we go to communication. We talk about things. We work through them. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's awkward, even if we don't get the response that we hoped for, we talk through it. Because you guys know this in all relationships with humans. If you talk through it, we can work through it. The vast majority of stuff, we can work through it. But if we don't talk through it, if we already dislike one another and we refuse and we're just ranting at one another, we're not going to get anywhere. And so Jesus tells us, love, communicate, talk about it. Because any relationship can be saved, I really truly believe, if we start when we still care about each other and we talk about it and we work through it. Virtually any relationship can be worked through. But if we wait too long, if we don't talk, if we use things like silence and cruelty and meanness, then it destroys the relationship and we can go nowhere. And it's important for us to hear this as a church because things are confusing right now. Things in society are confusing right now. And things are constantly changing. And if we're not communicating with one another, we don't know where we are. And more importantly than anything, if we don't start from a place of love and care, then we're not going to get anywhere. We argue about the dumbest, stupidest things because we already don't like one another. And so anything is a point of contention. Anything is one more reason for me to dislike you. It's one more piece of evidence for why you're messed up and I'm right. That is the last thing that Jesus wants. That is the last way to build a church. And yet, we're doing it. And it should be slightly comforting that they were struggling with that then, too. Because guess what? A lot of them didn't like each other. Did you know that Peter and Paul loathed each other? They did not like each other. They disagreed on just about everything. And yet, they're two of our most important building folks. So it's when we come together about a common love for God. When we come together because we are humans and we love and care and respect one another. We can do anything. Really, truly, we can do anything. If Peter and Paul can build a church, you and I can do anything. But we have to be willing to talk and communicate and work through stuff. Not posting nasty memes, not avoiding people that we don't like or disagree with, not demonizing other groups of people, but by sitting together, socially distanced apart, maybe masked, I don't know, whatever works for you, and talking through it and making sense of it and realizing that at the very core, we're all humans. At the very core, we are all created by God. At the very core, we are meant to be together. And so we will figure it out. And as a church, we're going to figure it out. We always have before. We've always been messed up before. We've always been dealing with things going on in the world that are chaotic and don't make sense to us and scare us. It's par for the course. So it's when we communicate, when we come together, when we start from a place of love and caring. Let's talk about it.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons.
We believe in one God.
We can't wait to
Father,
meet you.
the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen. We believe